The Big Story.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The story as it actually happened. Joseph P. Brown's story as he lived it.
You were in the office when the call came. A woman had been shot. The address, 93 Bixby, in the nearby town of Jeanette. That's all, no details. That was 15 minutes ago. Now you're only a few blocks away. And you wonder, who is she? Who shot her? Why? The old questions for a news story. Well, get ready to ask them, Joe Brown, for that's the place straight ahead. There, with the small group of people on the sidewalk.
What happened here? Anybody know?
It's like someone pushed a button. Suddenly it's quiet. And everyone just looking at you.
I'm from the Sun Telegraph. I'd appreciate some information. Have the police been here? Where's the woman who was shot?
Why don't they talk to you? What's the matter with these people, anyway?
Mister,
Yes, son.
she was lying on the sidewalk right there. The police took her to Memorial Hospital.
Alex,
Oh, I was just telling him what happened, Fred.
it's from a newspaper.
What's the woman's name?
She lives just around the corner. It's...
Alex, shut your mouth.
He's just giving me her name.
Find it out for yourself.
What's so terrible about asking for a person's name?
You don't need to know it from us.
Anyone else here know it?
Fred, we ought to tell him. Just her name, that's all.
I told you to shut up.
Your friend saw something. He was a witness. Is that it?
He saw nothing. Nothing.
Then why won't you let him talk? What are you afraid of?
It was Louise Miller who was shot. Now, do you understand?
No.
Alex, I said we shouldn't stay here. We're going home now.
Look, if your friend did see anything...
I told you he didn't. Don't mix us up in this, please. The man who did this thing, crazy. He's still running around. He's still got a gun.
Who's the man? Does anyone know who he is?
Fred, let go of my arm.
Going home.
It's
Turn
not
to the
right,
others.
Fred.
I'll decide.
See what they know. But they're just like these people, trying desperately not to become involved. Why are they so frightened? Do they know the man with the gun?
Can any of you people help me? Did anyone see what the man looked like? Now, somebody must have seen something. Why are you all going away?
It's too late, Joe Brown. They're out of reach. But at least they left you something. Her name, Louise Miller. Go see her. She's at the hospital. Hurry.
Lieutenant Kruger?
Yeah? Oh, hello, Joe.
How is she?
No chance.
Any leads?
Hoping she'll be able to talk to me. She's got a kid, 5 years old.
Where's the father?
Mrs. Miller was divorced. You talk to the people in the neighborhood?
Yeah. A one-sided conversation.
They know who it is, all right. In a small place like that, they all climb into a shell. No outsiders allowed.
This is even more.
Yeah?
They're scared of the guy who did it. Scared they'll be next.
In the back, Joe. He shot her in the back. Let's go inside.
The face of a young woman. But she's dying. Why do you look at her? Can you help her? What can you do to hold back the next few minutes? Who's the man? Bring him here. This is where he belongs. Make him stand here. See her face.
Lieutenant, she'll never talk now. Lieutenant?
Yeah?
Where are you going?
Her place. See the boy? She was bringing him this package.
What's in it?
Comic books.
I know this is a bad time to come to your house, Miss Edwards, but if you could spare me a minute,
What can I tell you? My father and mother, they're inside, crying about my sister. What do you want me to say, Mr. Brown?
I had to see you. Nobody else will talk to me.
She had a birthday last week. Here, in our house.
Miss Edwards.
We all chipped in, gave her a new dress. Sequins on it. You know how old she was?
Yes.
Why can't I cry? I want to. Why can't I?
Miss Edwards, have you any idea who did it?
All her clothes are here. As soon as she got a new place, she was going to take them. Maybe something in the country for her and little Roy.
Your sister was divorced, is that right?
Who told you that?
The police.
Mr. Brown, I can't talk to you anymore now. I want to go inside.
When did it happen, the divorce?
A few months ago. Please, you have to excuse me.
Her husband's name, just tell me that.
Andy.
Why did your sister divorce him?
You said that was all. What are you asking me more questions for?
Miss Edwards, I'm trying to help, but everyone turns away from me. Now, even you.
I don't want to think about anything. How can I?
Where do I find Andy Miller?
I don't know.
But you must know where he lives.
Why? He's nothing to us anymore. We want nothing to do with him. You got no right bothering me anymore. I told you. Please go away.
Walk the neighborhood, Joe Brown. Keep looking, asking your questions. But their doors are closed, their blinds drawn. All is darkness, stillness. But add up the little you've managed to find. They're all afraid of the murderer. And the dead woman's sister, she's afraid of the husband, Andy Miller. Are they the same man? Where is he? Why didn't he come to the hospital? Wait a minute. Listen. Someone on the other side of the street. He's been following you. Make sure. Go on, make sure. That corner. Turn down it fast. He's after you.
Mister, wait for me.
It's a kid. The one whose friend grabbed him away.
I saw you come out of the house. I was trying to catch up to you.
What is it?
Over there, mister. Away from the street light.
Well?
My friend didn't want me to make trouble for myself. You understand.
Sure.
Mrs. Miller was nice. Didn't talk to me like I was a kid. When I saw her there on the sidewalk, I knew I'd have to tell somebody.
What, Alex? What do you want to tell?
I was around the corner when I heard the shots. Started to run, and this car went by me.
Who was in it?
I didn't see. That car, I saw that real good. Blue sedan, 4-door. A Hudson.
Good for you, Alex.
She was nice, Mrs. Miller was. Fellow who did it, he ought to be dead.
Two facts. The name of Louise Miller's divorced husband and the car driven by the murderer. Can you tie them together? Only one way to find out. Where is Andy Miller?
No, Mr. Brown, I'm sorry. I don't know where Andy is. How did you find out he was living with me?
The divorce papers gave this address.
Oh, well, he'll be home soon. You want to wait?
If you don't mind, Mr. Miller.
I heard about Louise. A terrible thing.
Yes, sir.
Never could understand why she didn't get along with Andy. Fine boy, like him.
Which of them asked for the divorce?
Oh, she did. Andy said, all right, she didn't want him. He wasn't going to fight over it. There's not a girl in this neighborhood wouldn't want Andy for a husband. Louise wouldn't admit it, but she was sure sorry she let my boy go.
You say he'll be here soon?
Expect so. What you want to ask him?
Just a few questions.
Oh, ask me. I'm his father.
I'll wait for him, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure. Did they find any clues?
One.
That all?
Kind of an important one. We know what kind of car the murderer was in.
They sure about it?
There's an eyewitness.
I see. Mr. Brown,
Yes, sir?
the man who's got this car, you figure he's the one you're after? The killer, I mean?
It's pretty good evidence.
What kind of a car was it?
A Hudson. 4-door blue sedan.
I see.
You know someone with a car like that, Mr. Miller?
Yeah. It's mine.
Avast there, lads. This'll be me again. The name is Jones, Davy Jones. So whatever it is you be doing, belay it and lay to for a spell of sea talk. 'Cause if it's sea law you're after, I'm your man right enough. For I've been following the way of wind and water, sail and rudder, gun and cannon, man and boy, since there's been men and ships and a proper American flag in these waters. Aye, lads, that I have. I was with Simon Lake all along, for instance. He was the one invented the even-keel submarine. Also the first to use an internal combustion engine in a submersible. Funny thing about Simon's subs. The first ones he built had wheels on the bottom so they could run along the bottom of the ocean. Also had doors with double air chambers, allowing divers to emerge so they could be used for recovering sunken treasure in peacetime. At any rate, in 1894, he went to the authorities and asked permission to enter unseen the minefield protecting Fort Henry, but he was refused. That's all old Simon needed. He just got in his submarine, the Argonaut it was, and went right into the center of the minefield without being observed or blown to bits. That convinced the powers that be, and he was put to work. And from those first experimental ships came the sub-fleet of World War II that sank more than 4.5 million tons of shipping, including over 126 warships. So heave to, lads, man the braces, get on with it again. And remember, not only have we got the best bloomin' Navy there is, but by the great jib boom, we've got the bloomin' brain power behind us to keep it that way.
This is Cy Harris, returning you to your narrator and the big story of Joseph P. Brown, as he lived it and wrote it.
She's dead, Louise Miller, 26 years old. Surviving her, a child and a divorced husband, Andy Miller. You thought he might be the murderer. But now the case has taken a sharp, sudden turn. And in the office of the state police, you try to reason it out.
The big thing is, where's the husband? He must know you're looking for him. What do you think, Lieutenant?
I'm not sure, Joe. You're finding the boy who saw the murder car. That was important. But now that it turns out to belong to Miller's father, well, it complicates things.
Andy Miller could have borrowed the car, used it for the murder.
Let's talk about the father. He had a motive. Maybe saw at the girl for divorcing his son. It's possible.
He's a little guy, Lieutenant. People in the neighborhood are scared of somebody who's big, tough, like the son.
Give a little man a 12-gauge shotgun and he can look awful big.
The car is the whole answer. It's missing, and so is Andy Miller. It adds up only one way.
Excuse me, Joe. Lieutenant Kruger. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, that's the information I wanted. I see. When did it happen? All right, fine. Appreciate your looking it up. Bye. Registration Bureau, I checked on the car, Joe.
Yeah?
It's owned by Miller's father, all right.
But, Lieutenant, that still doesn't mean...
Now, hold on, Joe. I found out something else. He owns the car, all right, but only since yesterday morning. The title was transferred to him by Andy Miller.
The search begins. Andy Miller is a fugitive, wanted for questioning in the murder of his former wife. The tips begin coming in from the cranks, the practical jokers. But then, in the whole crowd of them, at last, one with a payoff. The car has been found.
You just tell the lieutenant, Alex. Is this the car you saw speeding away after Mrs. Miller was shot?
Yes, sir, it is.
No mistake, Alex?
No, sir, I'm sure.
All right, son, that'll be all. One of the officers will take you back.
Lieutenant,
Yeah?
you gonna find him?
We'll try, son.
So long, Alex, and thanks.
Sure, Mr. Brown.
Anything in the car, Lieutenant?
Box of shotgun shells. 12 gauge.
It official now?
Has to be, Joe. Andy Miller's the murderer.
No. There's only one problem.
What's that?
Getting him.
The police wire picks it up, sends it across the country. Flyers are printed carrying his description, his picture. It won't be long now. They'll find him, they have to. What he did, they can't let him get away with it. But the days pass, and the fact becomes more real. Andy Miller has disappeared. Where? What's happened to him?
Hello?
Joe,
Yes, Lieutenant.
I think we found what happened to Andy Miller.
What?
He's dead. Joe, this is Tom Parridge. He's an old friend of Miller's. Go on, Mr. Parridge. Tell him what you told me.
Yes, sir. Well, like the lieutenant says, I've known Andy a long time. Used to double date with him and Louise when they started seeing each other.
What makes you say he's dead?
The way he talked. How he said he was going to do it.
You mean you saw him recently?
No, I've been away. That's why I didn't come to police before. Tell him what Andy used to say about Louise.
What?
That he couldn't live without her.
Go on.
Well, I always thought he was kidding. Whoever really does something like that. I figured it was just talk, but after what happened...
Mr. Parrish, you don't know for sure, do you? You don't really know if he's dead.
Well, and I didn't see his body, if that's what you mean, but I knew Andy better than anyone. He said if Louise ever left him, he'd kill her and then do away with himself. Mr. Brown, he meant it.
Lieutenant, see you a minute?
Sure, Joe. Excuse us, Mr. Parridge.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Lieutenant, what's this guy selling?
He tells a straight story.
How do we know he hasn't seen Miller? That Miller made him come up here, make up the whole thing?
You look around, Joe. You'll see it makes a lot of sense. That transfer of the car from Miller to his father. Maybe it was just part of putting his affairs in order.
It's too pat.
You fellas want me much longer?
Just a few seconds, Mr. Parrish.
If Miller wanted to commit suicide, he wouldn't have run away. Look, from what I hear, he hasn't the nerve to take his own life. He's the bully type, and they never do.
I checked for a will, Joe. Miller made one last week.
Lieutenant, I'm sorry, but I have to get back to work.
Yeah, so do I. I don't believe your friend is dead, Mr. Parrish. I'll never believe it until I see the body.
All right, Joe Brown. You say he's alive, then find him. Figure out how to bring him back to the city. Maybe there's something that'll force him to come back. Maybe it's hidden in the kind of person he is. A weak spot you can use. Only one way to find out. Get to know this man. Find out what makes him tick.
I'll never be able to understand my son, Andy. He did a lot of things as a boy, but I never thought they were serious. Always wanted his own way. Friends told me that was his spirit. It was how he was made to be. Strong-willed. Independent.
Andy, you had to like him. If you didn't, he'd go after you and make you sorry. Nobody really knew him, not till after he married my sister. If she didn't agree with him on something, he'd beat her up. He had to be important.
I already told you about Andy, Mr. Brown. When he said something, he meant it. I remember once we were out with some girls. One of them laughed at him and said he was just a kid trying to be a man. He picked up a rock, threw it at her, almost killed her. He just went wild when anybody hurt his ego.
Joe,
Lieutenant.
take it easy. Nothing on Miller yet. This the latest story you're writing on him?
Have a look.
You still think he's alive, huh, Joe?
Yeah.
I figured maybe that's why you've been doing these stories, trying to get him back. That's a good idea, if it works.
Give it time.
How long, Joe? Been writing them for a week.
Wherever he is, Lieutenant, he'll want to read about himself. He'll buy this paper. If what I've learned about him is true, he'll be back.
Where did you get the crystal ball, Joe Brown? How did you know it was going to happen? That in the quiet of a summer night, a man would stand in the shadows outside a house on the edge of the city, and that he would wait there, wait for the man who lived inside to come home.
Is your name Mace Thompson?
What? Who's there? Where are you?
I'm right outside your car. Now answer my question, fella. Are you Mace Thompson?
No. No, I'm not.
You're a liar.
I swear.
This is Thompson's house. What are you doing here?
I'm not him. Look, if you want my money, you can have it. There's not much, but it's all yours.
I don't want your money. Just tell me the truth.
The truth?
Was that story in the paper true?
What story?
About my wife. Was that fella telling the truth? I have to know. If it was, then... Hey, come back here! Come back here!
This place is all staked out, Joe. If Miller comes here to his father's house, we've got him.
Did Mace Thompson identify that picture of Miller?
Yeah. He said he had a gun. Pointed it right into the car.
Lieutenant.
Yeah?
Down the road. You see?
Someone coming. Back here, Joe. Behind the post.
You get a look at his face?
Not yet. Steady now. Easy, mister.
What do you want?
Lieutenant, it's him. It's Andy Miller.
Watch out! Let it go, you hear? Let it go.
All right. I had to come back. I had it.
Why?
What I read in the paper. I was going to prove it was a lie.
Was it Miller?
The story said she didn't want me anymore. It wasn't true. I didn't want her.
Yeah.
I knew Mace Thompson had been seeing her since our divorce. He was going to tell me she didn't love him. That would have shown everyone I was right. She didn't care about anybody but me. Me!
But you didn't care about her.
I told you she was nothing to me, understand?
Sure. You didn't care about her.
That's right. I left her. I forgot about her.
Yeah. That's why you killed her. When brought to trial, Killer in tonight's big story denied his guilt. The jury, however, found him guilty of murder in the second degree. He's now serving a sentence of 10 to 20 years in Western Penitentiary.
And so ends another big story. In order to protect the names of people actually involved in tonight's authentic big story, the names of all characters in the dramatization were changed, with the exception of the newspaper reporter.
The Big Story has been a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.